Right, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining QSolid's panel discussion with two of the industry's leading experts in a global level. So today's topic is how global talent is redefining the business growth and innovation. Right, I understand people is joined and registered from multiple countries, multiple time zones. So if you're joining from Sri Lanka, good morning. If you are joining from US, Canada, it's very early morning, still good morning. If you are joining from Singapore, good afternoon. And if you are from New Zealand, Australia, so uh, good evening. Right. So let me warmly welcome you. There's a message calling no sound. Dr. Kiththi and Professor Alex, I am audible, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
you're
hear
very
you.
Right, because I was confused. There was a message from the, I think one of the attendees has no sound, so I think this is technical issue. So let me warmly welcome Professor Alex and Dr. Kiththi. Both of them, I don't think there is any need for introduction. Professor Alex is a senior professor at National University of Singapore, one of the leading figures, first CIO in Singapore, one of the leading figures, well-respected figure on digital transformation. I could say the same for Dr. Kiththi Perera. Dr. Kiththi is a business leader and expert on business-wise global expansion and workforce strategy. Also, Dr. Kiththi was the former CEO of Sri Lanka Telecom, which is very prestigious telecommunication service provider in the region itself. Let me warmly welcome behalf of QSolid. It is our honor and privilege to have you both for the discussion. Um, Thank you very much for joining. So let me start with the question one. Question one. Since you both are kind of expert on this, I plan to limit my my involvement and give you the most of the time to respond. So let me start. This is my because I also work as a tech investor. So this is one of my personal questions that I also wanted to ask. Recent times we are seeing a trend like this. So my question is, I'm sure you also might have seen why is the world most successful companies currently seems to be shifting for borderless workforce. I see a lot of multinationals doing that. I see even the large local enterprises also doing that. People are slowly but surely shifting for borderless workflows. So let me present this question for both panelists. I can start from Professor Alex, then we'll move on to Dr. Kiththi. Professor Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it all started with COVID-19, right? And when the mobility of people become very difficult, and people started to do virtually work, and it become a model for people to work from anywhere. So you can virtually be anywhere and you can work. And so therefore, company have then decided why confine ourselves only to the people in your own country? Why not expand the reach to the global? Uh, is the noise in the background bothering you? No.
No. You are
Okay.
loud and clear, Professor. Please go on.
Okay. So I think it makes sense that you don't only stick to whatever you have. A small country like Singapore, we have limited resources. So we have always adopted a model of attracting global talent. But however, the size of Singapore is limited, right? We need a lot of talent and we don't have enough resources to accommodate all these people. So when all these technologies are available for everyone to work everywhere, so we have actually expanded uh, uh, talent search to wherever we can find them. Yeah.
I think a
Of
lot
course,
of
later,
remote work also happening. I think mostly remote. So let me pass the stage to Dr. Kiththi. Also considering a lot of remote workforce is now into the productive and more important workforce. What are your thoughts? What is now you're based in? I know you're based in Thailand now. What are your observations? Where this trend is going to?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much for involving me for this very useful discussion. And I think very appropriate topic for today's world. Because as we know, as we all know, the global workforce is undergoing a major transformation across the world, and particularly to address, what is inherited with digital, the diversity, uncertainty, and complexity. So these are the three perspectives which are obvious with digital transformation. And so we have seen even the most successful companies in the world are shifting towards borderless workforce due to several reasons. So I was trying to explain, so some of these reasons. So I captured three main reasons. So the first reason is, so a lot of these startups I have seen, they want to scale up. So when I say scaling up, so they are looking for new markets, so access to new markets. So for example, emerging markets in Southeast Asia, Africa, and so on, So certainly countries like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Indonesia are quite considered as emerging markets. So as you know, the traditionally, a lot of these companies, they started expanding the workforce, investing in physical office space, infrastructure, which incurred relocation costs and so on. However, with the remote and distributed work models, companies can basically grow their teams without incurring massive overhead costs. So this will help these startups to scale up or sometimes scale down based on projects, based on opportunities, without committing for long-term investments. So that is one of the reason, why companies are shifting towards borderless workforce strategy. Uh, so that is for them to needing scaling up their business and enter into new markets. So the second point is to have access to global talent. I think that is also one of the top topic, that we are trying to focus in this discussion. So when you say this global talent, it is also useful for the participants and all of us to, to make it clear, what is this global talent? So in my view, so the global talents can be classified into two, So some of the talents are uh, very knowledgeable in a particular domain, like it could be artificial intelligence, it could be blockchain, and so on. They are extremely knowledgeable, and they have developed their skill vertically all the way down so deep. And so other categories like, people like involved in developing marketers, and people who involve in sales. So they need to have a broader sense, and they are horizontally skilled. And so both of them are equally important to develop any business in today's environment, because that now you look at startups, so probably can be a SaaS company where you need developers, where you need the skill set of, AI engineers, blockchain engineers, and so on, who are vertically cascading down their knowledge built also. So some of the people who can go to market and promote the products, and who possess a lot of other skills, including entrepreneurial orientation, right? So that they can go and confidently talk to people, network, and develop the business. So that talent is scarce. So there are a lot of companies who complain that they have vacancies, but when it comes to the recruitments, so they are not meeting these people. So the the biggest challenge the companies face today is finding highly skilled professionals in these specialized fields, whether it is horizontally, distributed knowledge, or vertically deep down. So we have seen enough vacancies, as I said. So on the other hand, the borderless approach eliminate the location-based hiring constraints and enabling business to access the best talent, no matter where they are, right? And so as I said, the certain expertise such as AI development and even cybersecurity, where I am also involved in a business venture, may be scarce in local markets. So by looking beyond borders, companies can connect with experts worldwide who possess these demands and skills. So employees can work from anywhere, ensuring their business retain and attract best professionals without physical limitations. So need to have the global talent is another reason why we are seeing these companies are shifting towards borderless workforce. And the final thing is to have an agile workforce, because in order to respond the fast changing market demands very quickly, particularly in this digital era, the startups need to have agile workforce, and we cannot take time to quickly respond market demands, technological advancements, and even competitive pressures. So workforces basically bring a broader range of knowledge, expertise, and with problem solving capabilities, with having the right sourcing strategy that could augment your insourcing, fix long term, as well as the part-time consultants, project-based, assignment-based. So that strategy need to be worked out. So in summary, the 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 need to scale up, and also to have the access to the global talent, and also building agile workforce will basically drive to have a borderless workforce for startups in today's world. Thank you, Thareendra.
Thank you, Dr. Kiththi. Thank you very much, Professor. I think both of you, from the very valid points that you raised, brought this conversation to a very specific point. So I made two points: resources and the startups. So since I'm also a startup investor, I want to dig down on that. And before coming into that, let me pose you a question on skilled workers. Since you both are been leading, heading, and maybe playing a very senior role on a large enterprises, how comfortable you are having a skilled worker who might not be in physically on your office, versus, but he's on remotely, but he might also work on some other project also, but for your company he's doing a specific task, right? So I understand some of the multinationals now started asking people to come to work, but putting you on the shoes of those multinational CEOs, both of you, how would you think? What is your take on that? Maybe start from Professor Alex.
Yeah, I think you are right about some company discover that I want the staff to be in the office rather than virtually or at home. And also, and when you outsource work to global talents, as you said, Narendra, that you do not know whether they are doing your project alone or they are doing five other projects. Yeah, yeah, that is a concern. But I think the only way is to measure them by outcome based rather than how much time they spend doing your project, because you can never control them how they spend the time. Uh, I think with a mutual agreement on the objectives and what is deliverable, it can be achieved. However, getting global talent is not without its challenges, yeah, because firstly, we need to understand culture and need to understand their work ethics and also their educational level, whether it's compatible with the other workforce. And there's always this language problem, yeah, that we have to overcome. So I think this is a solution to a problem that we can't get enough resources. That is for fact. There are so many startups, there are so many exciting technologies coming out, and all require some very intelligent, smart workforce. Therefore, we cannot just rely on the age-old method of insourcing all the people and it will limit your growth of the company.
Thank you, thank you, Professor.
Mm.
Dr. Kiththi, what's your take?
Yes, actually, when you say skilled workforce, skilled workers, now my biggest issue is one thing is we will say very competent individuals. They are very expensive and also they are scarce. when they are scarce, they are naturally expensive as well, right? So the biggest issue for startups, so they don't want to burn their cash ahead of realizing benefits. So they need to very carefully plan their resource plan. I am talking about the people before burn your cash runway, because it's a very significant portion that usually you spend on your capital for your staff resources, right? In both hiring and monthly salaries and other benefits. So I think Professor also mentioned a very valid point. We need to also deal with local cultures, language barriers, and so many things. So also we need the support of the local staff. When I say local staff, the staff recruited in those markets, right? So we cannot have the foreign employees to go there and do assessment unless or otherwise they possess a good understanding about those markets. But local staff is essentially required to assess certain market conditions, the regulatory barriers, the competition, and then give a fair feedback to decision makers as what need to be done. But at the same time, for your product development, for your operation, for key roles which are critically required, something like the AI engineers, blockchain experts, the cybersecurity professionals, and so on. They are also required. So how do you have the right balance between these two workforces and have a team which will help you to optimize your costs and also to realize business. So this is where I think a lot of startups are struggling to understand, where is the sweet point, where we start from. So I think rather than committing long-term costs mainly related to the staff, it is always wise to, rely on part-time consultants and the project-based or assignment-based workforce, and then test the market, and then you go for a longer-term investments and the commitment. So that is my understanding.
Thank you. Thank you for that perfect explanation, Professor Alex and Dr. Kiththi. So let me pose you another follow-up question. Now, I told you that I'm kind of a very much interested on tech startups. I do invest on a tech startups a lot. So one of the things that I personally felt is now when you prospect now from the point of view of this investor, which is again very important for the country because he is going to invest and start new businesses where the employment is going to be generated and the revenue comes in for the country. From my point of view, where I was always trying to lobby or trying to float the idea that whenever I fund for a startup, I don't want a full-time people working there because all I want to is to get the MVP done, then start marketing. Based on the outcome, I can decide whether to retain people or not. So this concept that both of you pitched is very interesting to me, where I get maybe the top experts anywhere from the world and work on my project. And once the project is done, I am done. So one culture, when then Dr. Kiththi mentioned the cultural connections also. I know in Sri Lanka, one issue is that the idea that I was also floating was we have, I don't know about other countries, but Sri Lanka, we have a restriction, a full-time employment, you can have just one employment. So if the government or the regulators or policymakers can limit remove that, saying a certain level of expert who can have 2 or 3 employments, where if he's trying to earn $20,000 per month, he can work for 3 or 4 people and earn 5,000 from each. Where for me, it's cheaper to pay 5,000 rather than paying 20,000, where he works and solves my issues for a certain day or two for the week. So that's but on Sri Lanka now, or I think most countries' laws, they don't allow the person to have a 2 or 3 employments, right? So that's the one, I think the one disadvantage I see locally here. When you have a expert, he's basically have to fix onto one employment. Otherwise, they look for alternate. What are your thoughts? How is global workflows doing this? Is other part of the world? You both of you have very well experience on other part of the world than Southeast Asia also. how is the other part of the world tackling this issue?
Maybe I can say something. I think it's
Please.
very interesting what you said about Sri Lanka law that does not allow people to have more than 3 employers. But I think
One. More than
more than
one.
one employer.
Yes.
But I think in some other jurisdiction, maybe in Singapore, it's the employer who does not allow the employee to have more than one job. But as far as the tax authorities are concerned, so long as you declare your income wherever you get them, all right? I mean, you may be working for 4-person, but you have to declare your income, then I think that is not a problem. And I also want to touch on another perspective that global sourcing of talent need not be individual. It can be in teams. So some companies are also sourcing for teams. Some in partnership with other small little companies. They have some startup somewhere. They have a team of people. We can actually partner with them rather than individually sourced, because individually sourced sometimes can be very tedious and burdensome, right?
Thank you. Dr. Kiththi, your take on this?
Yeah, yes. Actually, I can talk of Thailand. In fact, I have done
I think
some
you must be
feasibility
familiar
study.
with Sri Lanka because we can only have one EPF number. So you're fixed for that.
Yeah. In Thailand, actually, yes. So basically, the government is very keen to, address the national interest. Obviously, we see in like many other countries. So here, actually, Thareendra, now there are 2 types of companies that you can register for any startup, and people who are looking to invest in Thailand and probably in other neighboring countries also the situation is quite similar. So there is a category called Thai private limited company and also a BOI registered company. So in the case of a BOI registered company, uh, even though you have a capital commitment, the capital commitment is also not very high. It is 3 million Thai baht in equivalent Sri Lankan rupees. It's about slightly less than 30 million rupees, right? There is a capital commitment. You can have foreign workers, but it has to be a 1-to-1 ratio. If you have a 1 foreigner, there need to be a local Thai employee as well. If you have 10 foreigners working in the company, so you need to have 10 Thai nationals also working for the company. So there is the BOI. In the case of BOI, you have other so many fringe benefits as well, the tax concessions, and also if you locate your company in a BOI science and technology park, you have other benefits also. And so it's quite flexible, and government promote the BOI model, for investors to come and set up the companies. But you can't invest in every area. There are well-defined verticals. There is a document which says it, but in digital startups, it's very well covered, for investors to come and do that. The other category is a Thai private limited company. So they are, 51% of the company should be owned by a Thai national. And also when it comes to the recruitment, for every foreigner, there need to be 4 local employees. So all those local employees are also need to be registered at Social Security Fund, and also they need to be issued the health insurance. So these are the statutory requirements, as Professor also suggested something related to Singapore. So in every country, so we have these things. But again, when you have so many staff, it's the burn rate of the company as well, right? So the shareholders are under pressure to realize business as quickly as possible, because otherwise you keep burning your money, right? So this is where, I think the challenge is. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. That's it. That is perfect explanation. Now, coming back to the startup ecosystem, I think if the question posed, what are the industries or the segments that this global talent programs could majorly benefit? I think startup is one of the key, because I've been startup investor. I would want the best talent to be worked on my project, maybe 6 months. Then he have developed the project. Then it's about maintenance and operation. What are now I see there are certain people. Recently I saw an article that China have started dark companies also. That is, there is no light, everything is factories. So world is moving into a completely kind of a, I don't know whether it may be too fast or some kind of a completely new era. It is kind of a like a dawn of a new era. The people is coming up with a various policies from this global talent programs or initiatives, or from the global talent, having access to global talent. What do you think the best industries to have this? If you are a CEO, CFO of a company, what do you think the segments that these initiatives can be basically benefited, whether it is healthcare, whether it is a tourism, whether it is tech, obviously. We'll start from both of you. Anyone, either one can start. Maybe Professor Alex, you can start.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I think the biggest benefit will be to the knowledge workers. I mean, knowledge industry, like the software and where you don't have to have people physically available in the workplace. But as you mentioned, healthcare and all that, you unless we have robot nurses and robot doctors and all that, currently we still cannot have. We still have the physical presence of people. So like manufacturing, all that, a lot of them is already very light manpower, a lot uh, automatic robotics. So I think the shift of the world to the new technologies is actually enabling companies to actually get a source for talent worldwide, and not necessarily physically located in your country. What do you think, Dr. Kiththi?
Yes, Professor, thanks. I think you also touched the software and tech companies as well. So yes, I think I certainly agree with Professor. So so what we are trying to understand, the industries which can be mostly benefited from this workforce augmentation model. So where you strategically balance between your local staff versus hired staff who are global talents, right? Mostly. So I can think of a few industry verticals. So one is, as Professor also said, the technology and SaaS companies, right? So these companies need to scale rapidly without incurring infrastructure costs. So they rightly fit into this category. And also SaaS companies, they have the opportunity to use the distributed engineering teams who can work 24 by 7, so related to activities, coding, testing, and deployment, even across different time zones, so that your operation is 24 by 7. So, and also such companies also can hire AI engineers and other cloud architects from anywhere rather than being limited to local talent shortages. And also, SaaS companies can also localize their sales and support marketing teams to penetrate new markets without scaling up their physical offices. So if you talk of the industries who are mostly benefit from workforce augmentation, I can think of technology and SaaS companies as one industry vertical. Then the other one, I'll share one more case, which is retail and e-commerce, right? If you take retail and e-commerce, the retail and e-commerce industries largely depend on customer experience, localized marketing, and also very importantly, efficient logistics, right? So now retailers can set up offshore customer service teams to provide multilingual support and reduce the response times to certain customer questions and queries. And also, the e-commerce businesses can hire local sales teams, social media managers, and content creators to customize campaigns for different markets. So they can use all these different strategies, and global workforce models where you talk of this, we all discussed this workforce augmented model, where you strategically have the right balance between the local staff and the global talent. So companies can manage the suppliers, warehouse, and inventory across different countries without needing for large-scale teams. So there are technology platforms, so which will support these companies, to let these different stakeholders from different regions to collaborate and work together and to support the business growth. So those are the two industry verticals I can think of: the technology and SaaS companies, and also retail and e-commerce. So that's my share, Thareendra.
Fantastic. Now, assume I think both of you have since been in a very senior leadership roles of the very large companies. Assume you are a tech and e-commerce and retail company, and you are the CEO of that company or one of the board members. Now you have a proposal for the word is resource augmentation, right? Versus you have your own team, right? What is your decision-making process, and what are the things that you would look at it, and what would be the pluses and negatives you would be looking at before making a decision? Obviously, based on a P&L, but how would your decision process go through?
Okay, you
Dr.
address.
Kiththi, yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay. So the actually now what I believe is now in emerging world of startups, uh, the efficient scaling is very crucial for the survival and success, right? Because startups, even though they are startups, they don't want to be a startup for a longer term, right? So they want to grow. So therefore, as you said, the workforce augmentation, leveraging global and on-demand talent, help these startups to grow rapidly without the burden of traditional hiring constraints, right? So, so, uh, so they need to scale faster with a lean global team, right? So instead, building a large, expensive in-house team, so startups can strategically expand hiring remote professionals across the world. So that option is there, and also by doing so, they can also achieve the business flexibility without heavy payroll commitments and so on. And the the other important thing, Thareendra, being a startup uh, investor, and most of these startups need to have the access to specialized talent from day one, because they can't recruit people, develop, train, and then deploy. Then time is gone, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the
Spot on.
best way, the best way is to bring these experienced and talented professional from elsewhere through the global talent access programs. So there are now the companies and the collaborative platforms. You can instantly access to these global resources, right? Not like before. And also you can get away from this expensive recruitment process, which are very traditional, and by paying a lot of money to external recruiters. So for startups, that is not the approach in my view. So by doing so, by having this right balance, so you can lower your burn rates with on-demand talent, of course, because the other constraint what I have seen in these startups is many of them are venture backed. So they operate under tight financial constraints, right? So managing the burn rate. When I say burn rate, your monthly expenses versus available funding. So how do you balance this? So workforce augmentation definitely help them in minimizing the fixed payroll costs while maximizing the outcomes. So you can have limited resources, maybe at very strategic level, the leadership level, CTO, and other software development team leads, but the execution can be outsourced, and it can be project based, program based. So I'm just thinking, so I'm not a software company expert to uh, come up with great strategies, but This is what I think. And so you can basically leverage on the offshore talent for product development, product deployment, and so you can hire offshore engineers, designers, so very easily. And as I said, develop the software 24/7 and distributing the workload across different time zones. So all those things are possible through workforce augmentation, where you have access to global talent across different time zones, different countries, while appropriately blending your local staff who will be responsible primarily to business development, market development, networking, and understanding the regulatory competition and other local contextual requirements. So that is also equally important for investors, to understand the feasibility of that business. So that's my take. Thank you.
I think before coming into Professor, I think that's very solid points. At the end of the day, whether it is any business, startup, if it is startup or more, it burns down to a ROI and P&L, right? It's all about liquid cash, not about not about anything on your Excel amount of cash you have from your VC and how good that you are going to spend it, right? Professor, how is your experience on this? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking about workforce augmentation, principally for startup and emerging companies. But for established companies, those big conglomerates, there might be other consideration to workforce augmentation because the people who are with you for a long time, they feel threatened if you said, I have now unlimited resources to bring in to replace you if you are not working. I think that we have to be very careful about that. Yeah, but also for startups, the principal consideration is also whether they can find a market for the product or the MVP. So the marketplace is very important. I mean, one hand we have talent, which is not a problem, but whether there are customers for your products, that is another principal consideration. And no amount of augmentation of manpower or your talent can overcome the shortage of marketplace market share. So it's a balance, right? Global sourcing of talent does solve a big problem because of small country. We don't have enough resources. We bring in too many foreign resources. The locals get threatened, and therefore we will have to be very mindful of that. And we have to be very careful about balancing the mindset of the people, the mental wellness. And just now you mentioned that there are people now doing dark operation, and that is terrible. I mean,
dark factories. I recently saw somewhere on the news, China has already started that. There is no lights, everything is automated.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That's because that's totally automated. Yeah. But if you in China, I think they are making people work from 10 or 12-hour shift every day and all that. We have to be very careful about manpower is still manpower. Human is still a human. We have to balance what we require from them and what they can their output and also their mental wellness.
I think Professor Alex brought the conversation to a very interesting point, a new point. Now we've been discussing with the startups, so that makes a lot of sense for the startups, right? But you brought a point, it's not just for a startup, it's for a large who is already matured companies. So what do you think about the cultural impact? Because this is a machine which is already operating on a certain manner, maybe for a 50, 60 years, maybe even 10 years, right? And they might have, if you take IT staff, IT resource augmentation, they might have IT team, they might have the resources which is already working. From a company's point of view, how do you manage this when the employee suddenly sees someone from outside coming in and doing a work which he might be able to do, but not as good as the outside person comes and do? how do you face this cultural challenge? Because people can come up with the various theories, right? Whether it's going to be next me, right? Whether I'm going to be laid off and someone from somewhere, some other country is going to do my things remotely, right? From both point of views, from since you two are experts, or as advice for company owners on such, and also for the employees. What are your thoughts? Maybe start from Professor Alex.
Well, of course, running a workforce is not always an easy task. I mean, you can be a dictator to the whole company and you whack everybody and they produce a fantastic output for you for 1 year. The next year, they all left. So we need to balance welfare and think the newer generation of the population, the younger people, their mentality is a bit different now. They do not believe in long-term employment. They do not believe in long-term engagement. Their attention span is very short. They like to work on gigs, jump from one job to another to expand their experience, and they want to make money as fast as possible. Yeah, yeah. So we
So they
have to
won't mind.
balance. Yes. And therefore, we need to, the employer or the managers or the bosses need to understand uh, not only the culture is different, the mindset is different, the education is different, and what the expectation of the people are different. So to motivation is a big challenge, and I think a lot of change management need to be carried out in organization.
So, Dr. Kiththi, imagine the
Yes.
scenario: there's a tech lead or senior manager who have worked that in company for 15 years, and suddenly see his colleague he have left the job, but now it's been outsourced for someone who's sitting in some other country. Maybe he's on his 30th and who's been much better on that job. What would that person would think, who has been 15 years of the company, building loyalty, and how does the company should take that situation? Because that is emotional and human part also need to be considered, no?
Yes, it's a very good question, particularly for incumbents, the companies who have been in the business for a long time, sometimes few decades. And also for organizations who are maintaining a large workforce, like, 5,000, 10,000. And this is very critical when there are trade unions also involved with the workforce, right? So it's a very sensitive topic, right? I think being the leaders of the company, the first thing we need to assure is their job security. So because in my view, if any employee is not performing, or if they are not performing up to the expectations of the company, so similar to the employee, the management is also partly responsible. So it is the responsibility of the management or the leadership also to develop those individuals. And maybe that individual is not performing in that particular department or in that context, but the moment you give him another opportunity, maybe he perform well. And if you look at his history, and that employee may be performing well, but the question you ask is a different thing. So the job security is one thing. Then when you involve external experts or global talent, so because it's very expensive to build sometimes, these work expertise internally, because company need to invest a lot. But having the global workforce models, you have the instant access to these global talents. I think as a part of your business plan, so you need to have a fair discussion with the employees or the unions who represent employees to explain them why you do that. There is a purpose, right? So while securing your future, and if you have this model, it is an opportunity for existing staff also to learn and develop, and also work in new technology areas, and that will also benefit the employees, as well as it will benefit the company to, in the long run, to sustain and develop, right? So the moment this is very openly and transparently communicated and convinced, I don't think there is a reaction or there is a objection from existing employees. As you very correctly said, it is not a great idea to upset the existing employees and then go for external hires in view of getting the global experts. Because at the end of the day, uh, these teams need to be in the same page, and sometimes you have onboarding programs for external talents to integrate with the existing workforce, so that you as a company or the leadership see the entire workforce as one team, where they all have one objective with one vision to drive the business. And so they all are expected to work together in a single platform. So that integration is very important. So if there is any resistance in between the long stayed permanent employees versus new hires, who we call global talents, who are specialized in these very niche expertise, it can be a disaster as well. So we need to, I think it is totally the responsibility of the management to carefully tackle this situation and do this integration properly, so that internal staff are not hurt.
So it's basically employee versus service providers, right? It's not a hire, it becomes another service provider. He provides the service for a certain time. Maybe he can do it better than anyone else. Then he moves on to a different role. So I think, as you very correctly said, the bigger challenge is so these larger and matured companies. Because if you look at last 5 years or 10 years, the people who was leading on the technology angle at that time is no more the leaders, right? So for the company and their board also have a huge task. Either if they don't change or update themselves or release their products faster and cheaper, there can be always a tech startup comes up with a better solution and provide a better consumer service for the at the end. For consumers is we provide the best service. A friend of mine told me a very nice story on this. He's a US citizen. Now earlier the latest technology comes to defense, then government, then consumers, right? Now the latest technology first released to the consumers, right? Then government and then defense. So this is a completely different era where even the larger and more matured companies need to adapt faster. So in that angle, I think Dr. Kitti's explanation made perfect sense. That it's like any other problem, right? It's how you communicate and manage. You can communicate it in a way that it problem becomes 10x, or you can communicate in a way that problem are solved. So it's yeah, I get it. It's like it's a basically management practice of the people who leads it. Um, are you now from especially being people in Southeast Asia a little emotional? No? Are you seeing a cultural impact on also on this conversation, where we might not see the same impact on Europe or US, where Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Bangladesh, India might have a Thailand, might have a different cultural aspect as well. Is that something that companies should consider when they evaluate these kind of decisions?
Yes, can I answer?
Yes.
Yes. Actually, it's a very important question. I think so. So some of our countries are lagging behind very clearly, and some of the countries in the region are advancing very quickly. So one might easily blame the political leadership for this difference, but it is the responsibility of the people also. I think the countries like Sri Lanka, they are islands, right? And this island mindset is also, need to be changed, and they need to be, the Sri Lankan should have more opportunity to integrate with the rest of the world and see the world, and particularly the developed markets, to understand how effectively they work, and particularly the culture, the values, and the rather than being protective. And try to do something for the company, even risking your job. That should be the attitude, right? and so that mindset need to be established. I think the national level, the governments also can think of bringing in respective laws and legislations to effect, and also that will encourage the foreign direct investments also to come to the country. So this culture is a very unique aspect, because in large and incumbent organizations, uh, the culture has been such that the employees, they always try to be protective. So I think the companies who are large and who has been there in the business for a long time need a well thought out, structured culture change program. So this culture change program, you will never say the name culture, but have a different name, and have a program where you engage the all segments of employees and take step by step to change their mindset and thinking. That will slowly let them to interact with external partners, and then start them learning, realizing, okay, so this is how we should think, and it's all about mindset, right? So I think, as you very correctly said, Thareendra, now we never know, disruption is all over with digital. So if we don't change at this moment, and try to speed up our decision making, and also the product development life cycles, and we can be easily disrupted by other people while we are taking effort to develop and launch it. So I think the the time to market is very critical in that aspect. So uh, 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 I think it's very important for incumbents to have a well thought out culture change program. So probably they can get external consultants to help them to structure these kind of programs, and so engage employees. So no culture change program will be successful without engaging the employees across all the employee segments. And also they can identify people who are very good in taking this change as a challenge, and appoint them as change agents, so representing different departments, different regions, and then have this kind of a steering level management layer, who can really drive and let this, to have this snowballing effect, let this roll
Yeah.
out to other layers of the structure, so that they will uh, seamlessly integrate with the same thought process, so that eventually it will happen. But you can't do it overnight, and you need to put a lot of effort and the thinking to structure this kind of program, which is very unique to organizations, which is very unique to different contexts. So it has to be and it has to address these concerns. Otherwise, the intended benefits will not be able to realize.
Thank you, Doctor. Before coming into Professor, I think it's basically now this is the business world. Either you do it or someone will do it for you, right? So it's very competitive. What is Professor's take on this?
Yeah, actually, you mentioned just now, Thareendra, that some of the market leaders are all gone, new companies have replaced them. But it need not be so if they have been careful to actually uh, allow the company to also be cognizant of all the changes coming. So to divide the company into run the business and then grow the business. So the grow the business can be the young talented uh, global talents, and then run the business. You let the older employees continue to do whatever they've been doing well. So if you have this model where you let one part of the company like operate like a startup, go and conquer new market, bring in new talent, try out new technologies, and that that will continue the legacy of the company rather than you be replaced by some other new startup. So as Dr. Kitty mentioned, all is about change management. Change management is not only at the staff level, it's at the board level. The board need to innovate to change. The management need to innovate and they change, and not be fearful of making investment and that be maybe not profitable, take risks, and the risk is not what they want to do. Most of the directors don't want to take risks and affect the revenue of the company. So I think there is no perfect answer for you. You cannot have your cake and eat it. All right, you just have to do something and make sure that you survive. For survival of company, the existing business is doing well. Okay, then let's start something new before we become obsolete. And another thing which I think sourcing of global talent can be also a source of market intelligence. Yeah, that means if you, let's say you're going to expand to country X, and then you say, okay, why do I source some talent from this country X that help me to actually establish a market in that country X? That is also a possibility for a way to use in-source global talent.
Thank you, Professor. I think we have very about 3-4 minutes more. So let me pose an important question. I know there are a few government regulators also joined and watching. Let's assume from the country's point of view. So as a country government, I want employment for local people. That's a must. Higher the pay and those sort of jobs going for a local university graduates are the best scenario for government. And the same time, if government can have a company who bring $100 million, 10 of those companies can bring 1 billion export revenue. So that's also important. So it's a very delicate balance. Where do you have to have employment going as well as the export revenue coming in, right? So my question is, how does if you are a government regulator listening onto this global talent, obviously there are, like usually there are people who's providing this global talent. Instantly people can provide it, right? So if I am a Sri Lankan company, if I can have the global talent resource for 6 months and get my product developed faster and go to market as a SaaS, have it a payment gateway integrated, start earning revenue, that is ideal for me. Same time, I want a lot of graduates are coming up from the local government institutes, government universities. You also want their employment also. So you can understand being a government is a very tough role, right? What is the balance? What is your advice? What is the balance? Maybe let's start from Dr. Kiththi.
Yes, actually, as I said, it is the national interest as well. I think it should be our responsibility as well, be the business leaders, to think of the national resources. So I think we need to have the right balance. So some researchers identified the global talents integrated from FDIs is one of the strategy to share and develop the local people, and that has been proved in certain other markets as well. So I think we can use a similar model where whenever there is foreign direct investment, so obviously these FDIs are coming from well-developed markets, so their resources are quite good, and I think if you can establish the point, while recruiting, because now if you consider our university graduates, they are also very talented.
Absolutely.
At AIT we did a research to understand the IQ of the different countries in our part of the world, East Asia and South Asia. So South Asia was ranked top along with Singapore, China, and Korea, right?
Wow.
So that is there. So I think there is a missing component here. So I think probably the exposure is very important. So unfortunately, being a country has gone through 3 decades of war and other political and social issues, we could not get into the pace where other countries in the region are heading for. Nevertheless, as you said, the if you now I know some other markets because I also engage with the Australian-based company, which is largely focusing on consultancy and engineering services. There is a very high reputation for Sri Lankan professionals, both for doctors and engineers. So actually, that consultancy company, the 100% workforce is from Sri Lanka. So yeah, so actually there is a good recognition. So the same people, when they move there, they work differently. And when I discuss with those people, they very openly discuss and explain uh, what are the shortcomings in our thinking, when we work in the local context. So this has to be changed. So they change and they work differently because they are integrating to a different society. But I think with the global resources, uh, that you get from that you get with foreign direct investments can be seamlessly integrated with these newly recruited graduates because they are fresh. They have not. They didn't work in some other legacy companies for years, 10 years, 20 years. They are fresh, so they can be easily trained. The moment you uh, integrate with the right leadership and the right team members, and also with little bit of coaching and mentoring, I think the outcome could be quite fantastic. I think we have a social
Fantastic.
responsibility to do that as well. No.
Fantastic. Thank you for that a very detailed response, Dr. Kiththi. Professor Alex?
Yeah, I think firstly, we must stop be thinking of a zero-sum game here. It doesn't mean that I bring in talent. We are not doing talent replacement, but we're doing staff augmentation. That means you already short of this talent. That's why you're going to bring them extra in. And we must have this global mindset that we cannot be insular and that we can only take care of our people. We have to find job for our people. But how you going to get new jobs if you don't bring in new technology, people with expertise from elsewhere who come in and develop new product, they create new employment for the people. So we must always think global and not insular. All right. I mean, the moment you say, that's it, I will not augment my staff because it becomes staff replacement. No, we are not doing staff replacement. We are expanding the workforce, expanding the workforce beyond the boundary. So, for example, if Singapore has 5 million people, actually I get another 1 million from global resources. So actually I have a pseudo 6 million people population rather than 5 million. I think we have to think of that mindset. We are expanding our sales, our boundary of our market uh, through the stuff of talent augmentation.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Professor. Now, it's kind of amazing to see that. Imagine the world we are living in now. If I want to have a software developer, I won't have some project getting delayed. I can just log into internet, right? Find the resource augmentation player and just click a button. Say this is the person I need, or from a pool of people, I can select this is the person I need. And from next day onwards, I can onboard him and start working on a project itself, right? So that's the world. That's how world has moved on, and that is the world. Even the country, government, private or public sector organizations must face that reality, right? That's the world we are living in. As a country or as a private or public organizations, all we need to do is to understand and get that 2-second advantage from whatever the resources at our disposal, right? I think we can start open for Q&A, but before that, maybe I can give 2 minutes each for the Professor Alex and Dr. Kiththi to give some summary and closing remarks. Because what you have said is tremendous. I don't want to ask you to summarize this because it's each and every point is very valuable. Maybe let me replace the word summarize with a closing remark, and let's move on. Let's start with Dr. Kiththi.
Well, I think I don't take too much of time. So, so we are discussing the workforce augmentation, and so I think in summary, what I believe is by adopting a hybrid workforce model, leveraging global talent partners, investing and onboarding and integration, culture integration, because very important, because you can hire global talents. If there is a major mismatch with the local staff, it can end up with a disaster. So companies need to invest in onboarding and culture integration. So by doing so, so we can have a beautiful workforce who will drive the business with one vision, and then the organizations, the companies can reduce their hiring and operating cost, maintain high performance team, and also scale efficiently without long-term capital commitments, particularly related to the staff. So we may note that the key to success is not just cost cutting, but building a workforce that is both affordable and exceptional. So with that concluded remark, I pass on to Professor Alex.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Professor?
Okay, to summarize, I will just share 3 slides.
Please.
So the workforce augmentation strategy was a global remote first, right? Build distributed teams across 3 continents. Engineering support and compliance operate without borders. Secondly, they have strategic talent placement, leverage Eastern European analysts, APAC support teams, so they go to where the talents are. This approach optimizes operational costs significantly, and they have also on-demand specialists. They use contract experts for regional compliance. You see, this is another thing that we need to do. This enables market testing before full commitment, and they have AI-driven operation, implemented automation throughout customer journey, and this reduced back office staffing requirements substantially. And because of this strategy, they have impressive, they reach 35 plus global markets, 40% cost reduction, and 24/7 customer support. So this is an example of someone starting from nowhere and then conquer the world through borderless talent management. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I was given the understanding we only have time for one question. So let me see. Let me pick a one question. So I'm going to pick a question from Mr. Dean. So his question is very interesting discussion. A question I pose is in the context of the Asia BPO market. For instance, the BPO in the countries like India, Philippines is contributing around 30% of total exports. With the impact of generative AI towards the business process will create automation in BPO, hence not requiring human resources. Okay, how will this phenomena impact the BPO human resource talent in Asia and South Asian markets? Thank you for the question, Mr. Dean. I'll pose it to the panel. Maybe take 1 minute each and share your thoughts. We'll start from Dr. Kiththi.
Yes, I think there is obviously a impact. I don't think there is a major impact to the knowledge base outsourcing processes, because these are deep knowledge based resources, who are sharing their services with the rest of the world. So KPO based services are quite safe, but the very routine, repetitive work kind of BPO operations are under major threat. So I certainly agree with Dean 100% here. So it's a matter of time, probably this will be replaced by the AI assisted operators, unfortunately. Yes, we probably need to reskill the staff who are working in this domain and redeploy in some other areas very soon.
Professor Alex? I think Professor Alex might be having a small technical difficulty. No, let me pick another question for Dr. Kiththi. This is from Shivanta Ranasinghe. The importance of change management was highlighted in the discussion. Appreciate if you could please elaborate the importance of it further. Well, she's mentioning I'm looking to pursue my master's in change management, and your valuable insight would greatly valuable to me. So let's give your insights to Shivanta Ranasinghe as well.
Yeah, actually, we discuss the change management in relation to the culture change, no? So I think that was the discussion. So maybe I can elaborate a little bit more in the same topic.
Please,
So
please, because she's going
I
to study
think
that.
yeah, I think we discuss appointing change management agents, so change champions, right? So say for example, so if you are a organization with 5,000 staff, so we have multiple departments, so you can't expect a 5,000 staff organization to be a flat organization, right? It is very hierarchical. And so modern day companies are very flat with structures, so that you can very effectively communicate between the extreme layers of your organization. So so when you do a major culture change program in a company like that scale, so we need to understand a few individuals from different departments, so that you have a diverse team to make sure that they understand the need to have a different culture to drive this business further and stay ahead of the competition. And so that need to be convinced, and these individuals need to be very passionate, like I think she has selected this particular research topic, probably maybe she's very passionate about it. So it's a part of change management as well. So how do you uh, do this? Basically, uh, we need to sit down and brainstorm and structure a program which is very unique to our context, our company, our culture. You can't cut and paste. Yes, there are so many other different templates we have established. So we have gone through some of the research papers as well. I think she can probably see different research studies and understand how this was done. And most of the research studies are qualitative nature. So because you need to deep dive to understand certain cultural elements in organizations before you establish such frameworks or models to follow. So I think uh, uh, it is very difficult to have a solid answer to her question, but change management is a broad area, but we discuss a little bit in relation to the culture change. So I think the one of the effective way of making the change in a larger organization is to select the most passionate team uh, of a particular department and implement the change management program there, and make it a role model to the rest of the organization, and let other departments and people in the organization to see the value and to realize, by looking at that department as the role model, and the benefit of being like them, and then be convinced, rather than uh, uh, management pushing this all the way down, it will not effectively work, I know for sure. So have uh, 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 employees engagement to make it more effectively. uh, it's the involvement of all the layers of your organization, and then roll it out across the company very smoothly. And this can be done by change champions or change agents that you have identified in different departments, and slowly have this snowballing effect, as I mentioned before, across the organization. So that's one of the strategy which has been very effective. I have seen a lot of papers on this. But if you go try to do big bang across the company in once, I think there is a higher risk of failing that program.
Thank you, Doctor. Professor, maybe one. I think we are running out of time. Maybe 1 minute to respond for a last question.
I didn't hear the last question because I was locked out. Yeah.
Right. Let me read it out. Now the question from Shivanti. So she needed to understand. She was very appreciative of your knowledge sharing on the change management. She wanted to understand whether there you can elaborate or whether you have additional insights to share on on related to large companies managing this change from the existing people to for resource augmentation.
Yeah.
Maybe within a 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, change management is something which I have been doing since I became CIO. Yeah, because you want to change organization, you want to implement changes, digital transformation, business transformation. You all these projects will fail if you do not carry out change management and prepare the people, prepare the mindset of people to accept the change, because people can sabotage whatever you do, right? As you can see, in US now, there are people protesting because they are not happy with the policy. That's what people do. When they're not happy, they will sabotage, and then they spoil all your plan. So before you even carry out a transformation or even want to implement any change, you want to in-source global talent and all that, you have to prepare. As Dr. Kiththi mentioned, no amount of preparation uh, can be spent, to actually prepare the ground for, because the people will appreciate it. When you implement a change, people will think about their livelihood. They have families to worry about their whether they will still have a job. So you have to assure them that this is not about your job. This is about the company. If the company does well, all of you will benefit as well. If the country does well, everybody benefit as well. So that is my point of change management.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Doctor. I wanted both of you. We are very appreciative behalf of the QSolid, the time and with the profiles like you joining for a webinar with us. And QSolid is also a staff augmentation company. We had been getting some new investors. Now we have the global appeal registered in US now. So we are also trying to go into the global market. But by the click of a button, you can get any resource you need when you go to QSolid website. So there are some new investors have joined. It's a kind of a now globally expanded business. So we appreciate both of you very much taking time, and especially for the valuable insight you have shared. Those are very solid points. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the audience. Thank you very much, Dr. Kiththi. Thank you very much, Professor Alex. It's been pleasure and privilege to host you for 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
Honor is all ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Thareendra and
Thank
Professor
you.
Alex. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.